Hi, I'm Colin from Crypto Coin Growth, and today I'm going to talk to you about building a crypto mining container. We built one about, let's say, 3 years ago, actually quite a few of them about 3 years ago. And we started getting more and more questions on why we built it the way we did build it, and the materials we used, and the efficiency of it, and so forth. So I'm going to kind of go over each step of the way why we chose to build it the way we did. We built a 10-foot container as opposed to a giant, 20-foot or 40-foot container. And the way I did this was built so if you're in, like, say, your garage or a mining shed or something like that, the next step is to go to either a larger one or have more capacity or be able to fix all those issues that you're currently having with negative air pressure, maybe heat, trying to get rid of the heat, and also getting more power. So let's start real quick by, let's look at a video that we had done, a few years back. And probably if you've searched mining containers, you've seen this video before. So I'll show you why. And this is, you'll see, Shane will open this, my son. So you'll open up this container, and in this container, it starts just off right here. I'll tell you what is in here right now. We built this container to be in a facility, or, like, say, even outside, but under awning, something to where it's somewhat protected by the elements, but not necessarily doesn't need to be, too protected. So we're looking at three 5,000 CFM fans that are here. Everything that we have in this container can be purchased locally, either through your Home Depot or something like that, or even if I think the fans we got on Global International or something like that, online, and it was pretty easy. The box we got at Home Depot, this shelving we got at Home Depot, the filters, everything like that. So it's really easily sourced, and it's easily replaced. So you got to think of that too. If you're going to be building something, and a lot of you that, let's say you built like a mining shed, and you realize why everything is so hot, there's not enough airflow, or there's not enough whatever. It's always good to overbuild your air system than it is to underbuild it, because then everything you put in there is going to strain, or you're going to stop yourself from growing from that point on. So we got these fans because not only can they just turn on by flicking a switch of power, but also they were dual speed. So they would either go at 2,500 CFM each or at 5,000. So we'd have a choice between what is that? 40, 25, 7,500. So 7,500 CFM or 15,000 CFM. And you can turn them on, turn them off as you go. Let's say you only had like 10 miners or 5 miners or 20 miners in there. You could adjust as you go, and the airflow would accommodate that. We also did a 200 amp service. So this, let's say if you're in a residential, hopefully not too small, because these still do make a bit of noise and you don't want to piss off your neighbors. But on this one, we had a 200 amp service come in single phase. That way we could just request another 200 amp service being brought into your house, which they have no problem, doing something like that, but check with your area first with your local electric company and see if that's okay for them to do. And or if you have a commercial building, let's say you have a shop or something like that, and you already have a 200 amp service, trying to upgrade that, or if you had a three-phase system that's either 200 amp or 400 amp system, and you can step down to a single phase, like say 200 amp. That's the way we had 800 amps in our facility, and then we stepped down to 200 amp for each box that we kind of put in our facility. So this particular one is set up for this reason. We wanted to be able to take this, just bring it and drop it in at our residence. Or anyone can put it in their residence, because it's a 200 amp service, which was cost effective. Like I said, you don't have to special order stuff. You don't have to get special weird permits or anything like that for a 200 amp service. Well, I mean, to bring it in, but not to run it, like this. So let me go ahead and play this and you'll see. This particular one, this is a 10-foot container, and it accommodated about 40 miners. Now, this was a time where S9s and L3s were available. And you can see on this side here is we had the power supplies, sideways, and here we put PDUs. And on these PDUs, we had 30 amp PDUs that were 220. So in our box, we had 30 amp 220 breakers. And so that way we didn't have to have, let's say we have 30 or 20 or whatever machines. We didn't have to put 20 or 30 plugs, all up and down there. Because again, that's cost, and having that many plugs and that much wire and stuff like that, it just adds more and more to it. So what we did is we had regular 30 amp PDUs that had 4 plugs that would run directly into these. I think the L3s could accommodate one per each plug, so that way we could run for each PDU 4 L3s. But the S9s that we were running, they can only run 3 of them on there because it only ran 30 amps, so you didn't want to burst your PDU or your breaker every single time you turn those on. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're building something like that. Have some type of surge protection, or in our case, we did it because it was more cost effective because we had these PDUs. Instead of putting just a crap load of plugs and having wires and all this stuff all over the place. Also off to the side here, we ran filtration, 24 inch by 30 inch filtration, which is available at just about any Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever's in your area. Or you can order them online on like, I think Amazon, you can get like a box of like 30 or something like that for next to nothing. So we set it up this way just because it was easy for us to do it, and it had a really low profile. So they're about like this thick. They're about like 1 inch. So the container that they went in, the little filter thing, it was about another inch. So we had about 1.5 inches to 2 inches that we needed to put in there. But we already had 2x2 box frame that was already in our cutouts. So it was easy to kind of fit it in there. Let's go ahead and continue. We'll walk around the outside of it and we'll show the outside. Now, these may look familiar to you because they should be. These are like regular home filters. You just open it, pop it down, take the filter out, put it back in, you're good to go. It wasn't anything high tech or anything like that. This was pretty down and dirty to see how inexpensive we can get it to run with proper speed, proper cooling, and also our connectivity, and then our space. We wanted to be able to handle that load. If we, wanted to put more miners in there on this one, we can't, because on 200 amps, this was pretty much, it maxed out about at 40, what did I say? Yeah, about 40 miners. That was it. So, but the good thing is it's scalable. If you have a facility and you want to put another miner or another box in there, just bring in another 200 amp service, and then you do the whole thing again. As opposed to, let's say if you went and got a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container, which sounds really cool to do, but you'll find out real quick that it's more costly to cool, and also just everything is doubled and tripled. Unless you have an immense amount of power, because you look at the specs on some of these and say, yeah, you can put 100 miners in here and you can do 300 miners. Well, 100 miners, that's like half a megawatt. Or 300 is like sometimes over a whole megawatt, like 1.2, 1.5 megawatt. Just power that. And so you got to keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're going to build something and then you're going to get bottlenecked into the available power that you have. Then you're just going to be stuck with this big empty space. So we built this, and putting 9 slots in here, 9 filters in here worked out perfect for us. That way we had enough sucking power that sucked all the hot air out, and we were able to at least have the right kind of filters in there to where if it's like, say if we put only 3 of these filters in there and put 15,000 CFM, we would create such a negative pressure, it would suck out and destroy our filters. So keep that in mind too. If you're going to have that kind of power in there, you have to know the rating of your filtration and the airflow that it's allowed and accommodating. So let's continue here. We'll show you another reason why we did, some of the other stuff that we did. Now in the back here, we have, your typical shut-off switch. But one cool thing that I wanted to have on here is this umbilical. It's really like a quick connect umbilical. So if you wanted to move, as opposed to like getting a mining shed or just doing it in your garage or something like that, this way, if you move, you just disconnect it, secure everything, and put it on a loader and then send it to your new location. You're good to go. Again, this is an investment that you don't want to leave anything behind or make it to where it's too permanent, because unless you're planning on living where you're at forever, plan on moving this kind of stuff. So let's continue around. And on this side, you can see this is how they vent out, and this blows out, like really, really well. And I'll show you here. This is what the outside looked like. And here's also the profile with the 3 fans when they're closed. Now we also put in an exterior plug just in case we wanted to charge batteries or we wanted to do something if we're going to be working on it. We had these on separate 110. So that way they ran off of 110, and we had another 110 here. And then also we had an LED light that we had there too. So that worked out. And you can see this is from Global Industrial. Really easy. I mean, if you need to replace parts or do stuff, you got to keep that in mind. These things will need maintenance, especially if you run them 24/7 like most people do. And again, here you can see the filters. These are just very basic filters. I liked when we did this, we did it really, kind of nice. This wasn't like, we slapped it together, put a bunch of caulking on it, and then we ran. We wanted to be able to make this look nice and last, through weather, through whatever, and just, I don't know, I don't want things to look like shit. So as you can see, everything is built off of, 2x2 box frame. If you could weld and if you can cut, then you can do it. Or you can pay someone to fabricate it if you're going to get a box like this. We did a single trip container, which allowed us to have something that wasn't like multiple trips that you don't know what's in there. Maybe there was chemicals in there. Maybe there's a bunch of crap, or maybe it just falls apart or starts rusting or whatever it is. It wasn't too much more of a cost for us. So we decided to go this route. Now on this particular one, we have this on a side vent. We built a few more that would work out if you have an interior space. Let's say you have a shop and you're like, okay, I want to put this in here, but I don't want to blow all this shit in my shop because it's gonna be pretty hot. Of course, unless you're in a really cold climate, then it's awesome. It's like a free heater. But we built them to where also we had turbines on the top, and we had our HVAC guy fabricate a tunnel that would go all the way up to the roof and have a shroud and then blast right out. So we had no heat, in our shop at that time. It would go from there up and out into space. Not space, but the air. So, and as you can see, everything was nice and clean. And you're like going, oh, I can put more stuff in there. You really don't want to. These miners ran at about 65 Celsius. They say max around like 80 or something like that. But they ran really optimal. We ran this for weeks and weeks and weeks without any problem when we were just testing. And then we ran it straight for a year. And pretty much other than going in and changing some of the filters, we didn't have to do too much of anything. It was pretty bulletproof. So, and again, here's some of the filters that we had put in there. And it's cool. Yeah, and here's the PDUs that we had. We placed them in the back, and then we just plugged them into the power supplies, and so everything was really nice. And I believe in having proper cable management. You don't want to have like wires all over the place and stuff. It's just a nightmare, especially if you're trying to troubleshoot. If you have a connectivity issue, you want to be able to take care of your stuff and make sure it's maintained and last a long time. So apart from this, I've seen other people that had posted online that they put together their own kind of mining container, their mining sheds. Those are great, but I almost guarantee everyone has issues with dirt. You have issues with cooling, because they said, yeah, we got like 4 GPUs in here. We got like 4 ant miners and we're doing all this kind of stuff. And there's like, it's overheating because they have like a little 10-inch fan on one side and a vent on the other side. And they thought that was going to be it. But that's not the case. And keep in mind, you could always kind of adjust and understand how much airflow that you're going to need to cool these things. It's always better to have more than none. And when you're dealing with, some of these where they actually have their own kind of cooling system already, you don't want to have them continually work more and create this massive load. If you're mining, like say Bitcoin that has like a really intense hash rate, you're going to need something that has amazing, cooling. But if you're doing something like Zcash or something like that, where it has less a little intensive, and you're running like, oh, these are nice and quiet. Yeah, it's quiet. It uses a little bit less. But if you're mining Bitcoin or Litecoin or stuff like that, then you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to your cooling. And again, if you're just going from your garage, or like say you have like 5 miners, I think you could probably max out 4 or 5 miners in a garage on 220. But anything more than that, you're going to max out your system in your house. And not to mention that, either your roommate or your wife or someone's going to be pretty pissed off at you with this thing, making noise in your garage every day. But if you decide to go to, have a shed or something like this, which is, it's not a problem having putting together a shed. You just want to make sure that you don't, create something that is just going to be this, snowball effect of problem after problem. I've seen some videos where people put like grading on the floor and they think it'd be great. It'd be like, airflow and stuff like this, but no filtration. And then a month later, they do a follow up, and then dirt is everywhere, like all over their all over their container, all over their shed and all over their boxes and stuff like this. And then they have to clean all that. If your miners are dirty, they're going to hash less. So you want to be able to keep your mining container and also your machines as clean as possible. So as you're doing this, as you're thinking about setting this up, if you're going to do that, understand your power availability, what's available to you, how many miners you're going to put in there with an understanding that you may gain or lose. If you have 200 amp, you can't put 200 amp worth of stuff in there. They usually want you to scale it back to about 80% your capacity. Otherwise, you're going to, your box is going to get super hot, and you don't want to do that because you're going to be pushing the limit of your available power. And if it cuts out, then you're down for the count. So keep that in mind on when you're building something like this, what you're going to be doing, how long you're going to be doing it, how many miners you have, your available power, and then also maintenance. Like I said, these filters are cheap. And if you're going to be replacing them like once a month or whatever you're going to be doing, they're paper, you can throw them away, or you can get like reusable ones where you can wash them and stuff like that. We did those, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. It's easier for us just to order new ones and slap them in and you're good to go. I just don't have time to mess with that kind of stuff. But then again, it all depends on what you want. We built this little rack system in here. And it was, again, this was like a off the shelf Home Depot kind of thing. And we just bought as many shelves as we needed for how many miners we had. But if you got bigger GPU rigs, and then, kind of keep in mind that maybe have like a couple bigger sizes and a smaller size if you're going to do ASICs and then GPUs, because you want everything to kind of flow one way, to where it's all the heat dissipates one way. You have cool air coming in on one side, and then it all just kind of dissipates and goes. But again, this is something that you should look into. Map it out, draw it out, look at more videos, understand the problems that some people are having. Try not to recreate those problems, because it is going to cost you quite a bit in the long run. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I've answered, some of the questions that people have asked me about these, the containers that we had built and why we did it. For me, it was important to build something that is easily duplicated and also cost effective. We looked into some of the containers that are available out there. They range anywhere between 60 to 80 to over $100,000 for a container setup. And then it's like, yeah, up to 200, 300 miners. Okay, well, that's another like $500,000 in miners that you're going to be thrown in there just to bring it to capacity. And then on top of that, you have at least a megawatt or whatever to power that massive amount of equipment. Understand what you're getting into. Do the numbers, and then start a little bit small, do a couple like beta, test things or whatever you're doing, whether it be in your garage, do load tests, in your area, and understand, if you have different fluctuations in energy cost, because a lot of companies will charge different for winter and for summer. So you want to be able to know your winter and summer costs, so you could remain profitable as you're doing this kind of stuff. And if you have to during certain months, if something's not profitable, shut it off. And then turn it back on during wintertime or whatever it's going to be doing. You don't want to have something create like a massive drain. Again, it's just your choice if you want to be able to be a miner and do this kind of stuff. Sometimes you're in the red, and it's okay. Late 2017 to 2018 was great. About mid 2018 to 2019, when Bitcoin had pretty much tanked, then it's like you got to shut them off. We shut it off for a while. And then when it became profitable again, you turn them all back on. You saw the hash rate go crazy. So just kind of keep in mind that this is an investment for you, what you're going to be doing, but don't go broke. That's why we try to be as smart as we can in terms of what we did and the maintenance that we wanted to do on it and what was available to us. But we're going to try to put in more videos. We haven't done videos for a long time. We had other projects that we're doing. We have a lot of online projects with our site, cryptocoingrowth.com. We have calculators on there. So if you guys want to estimate calculations with, let's see, if you have staking or anything like that, we have staking calculators and all this kind of cool stuff with compound interest. It's wonderful. So we'll make some more videos about that. If you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe, notify, all that other weird stuff. We haven't done this in a while. We will. All right. Bye.